Welcome to Mastering Your Financial Life, hosted by Judy Heft, the founder and CEO of Judy Heft and Associates, Financial and Lifestyle Concierge. This year, she's celebrating 27 years in business. In every episode, Judy interviews professionals who help others successfully manage their financial lives. You can find this show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Judy is the author of 2 books, How to Be Smart, Successful, and Organized with Your Money for a Better Today and Tomorrow, and her latest book, Mastering Your Financial Life Cycles, How to Successfully Manage Money in Every Decade of Life. You can read chapters of her books and catch prior episodes of the show at www.judithheft.com. Now, here's the host of Mastering Your Financial Life, Judy Heft.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Judy Heft, Financial and Lifestyle Concierge, and this is our 50th podcast of Mastering Your Financial Life. It's our Golden Jubilee, and I'm really excited to have Gayle Gruenberg here as my guest. Gayle is the founder of Let's Get Organized, and she has a million initials after her name, so I had her explain them all to me. She does chronic disorganization for OCD people. She's a certified virtual organizing professional, and she's just amazing too. And she does all that and more. She's the founder of Let's Get Organized. You know, Gayle and I really believe the same thing together. She believes that clearing your space clears your mind. And I think that is so important. And she specializes in working with women with ADHD, clients who are chronically disorganized. They're downsizing, they're relocating, maybe going through a divorce, maybe there's a little bit of hoarding thrown in there. And so let's get started talking to Gayle. Welcome, Gayle.
Thank you so much, Judy. It's really lovely to be here with you.
It is. I agree. So, what is chronic disorganization?
Well, chronic disorganization, according to the Institute for Challenging Disorganization, has a few prongs. 1, someone has been disorganized most of their lives, generally adult lives, or probably since they were children as well. Being disorganized negatively impacts them on a daily basis, and their quality of life is impeded. They have a history of failed self-help attempts, and they anticipate being disorganized going into the future without some kind of outside intervention.
That's so interesting because also, when I first started this business 27 years ago, I was doing a little bit of home office organizing. I've always been very organized. I was going into people's homes and helping them. And this, oh my goodness, an elderly woman I was connected with, and they asked me to go in there and help her because she was disorganized. But I went in there and she was such a hoarder. She had all these little tiny pieces of paper with notes written in shorthand. She wouldn't let me get rid of anything. I realized it wasn't my expertise in my field. She really needed a professional that understands this because there's all these emotions attached to it.
It's unreal. In fact, lately, in the last couple of weeks, I've been working with a few women, mostly women, but I do have a few men in my arsenal, who are exactly as you're describing. There are multiple brain-based challenges going on and many experiential things that they've had to go through, some trauma, and sometimes the level of clutter and hoarding it's kind of overwhelming. And I'm seeing where my expertise is sort of banging up against how much I know and how much I can help without some other mental health professionals being part of the team.
I know. Why is it so hard for people to get rid of stuff? Because I can't relate to that at all. I'm a purger. I don't like clutter. My desk is completely empty except for the papers that I'm working on. That's the way I want my team to work too. At the end of the day, everything gets put away. Because I believe what you said, it really boggles my mind. I have too much going on. How does that happen? How do you get people to think about it that way?
It is so true. And the short answer is that everyone's brain is wired differently. We might be wired to be very left brain dominant, and we're very logical, and we like sequencing, and we can categorize, and we can see the bigger picture sometimes, as well as the details within that bigger picture. We can see the forest and the trees. Some people who are challenged by chronic disorganization, which is a humongous umbrella, especially for people who hoard, they don't necessarily have those executive function skills. Their brains may have been traumatized in a way. They might have a traumatic brain injury caused by many different things that affects the way they see the world and can process information. So if, say, we're using like the prefrontal cortex on the left side of the brain, we're using 25%, for instance. Well, there are the other people who are dominant in the other 3/4 of the brain. So everybody sees things a little differently. And it's anathema to us how other people can function in such cluttered environments and with such chaos. But that's why you and I do what we do. We exist to help them.
That's very true. So, what are the first steps to getting organized?
The first,
Where do you begin? I mean, I just think that's the most important thing because it's so hard when you have all this mess all around you. Like, where do I start? I usually would say, like, just take one little drawer and give yourself a timer. But I don't know if that really works for people that are chronically disorganized.
that is definitely one technique, and it can be very useful. Sometimes it's a few steps before that, actually, is that deciding to decide and actually doing a lot of the internal work and a lot of the self-talk to say, okay, look, I have a problem and I need to solve this problem. And ironically, just yesterday, I was putting a little bit of a finesse onto a chapter of my upcoming book, which we'll talk about later. And
Right.
yeah, I'm excited about that. So I was discussing like a 3-pronged way to do it. It's the coach step, which is actually the final step in my process. And it's first acknowledge, then act. Acknowledge, accept, and then act. So like in 12-step programs, you have to admit that there's a problem. And then you can say, okay, I accept that I have this problem, and now I can act. So there's a lot of the mental acceptance of this lifestyle is just not working for me anymore. I have to do something about it. And acknowledging that you have to do something about it. I'm not expressing it the way I would like
No,
to.
I think you are. I agree with that. I know those 3 A's and I think they're important. And yeah, I think that's a great way to do it. Just acceptance, acknowledging acceptance and take the action. It's to us, it sounds simple, but not to other people,
That's for
the
sure.
ones that have their brain wired differently.
It's so challenging for
Yeah.
some people.
So, so what are some of the first steps? So we could do the acknowledgement, but what do we actually do after you do those first steps? What's the action step, I guess, is the question.
Pick a place. Like you said, pick one place. And it doesn't matter what place that is. I do suggest starting small, like you said, setting a timer as well. It's a great idea, great technique. And it's just start, because once we start, we build the momentum. We often build up in our minds that the task is going to be monumental and it's going to take a whole lot of time and it's overwhelming. But just the action of starting and taking that first step, like Martin Luther King said, you don't have to see the whole staircase, you just have to see the first step.
Very good. I like that.
That can be the way to go.
It's true. So last week I was visiting a friend, and I wouldn't want to go to the extent of calling them hoarders, but there was just so much stuff. There was no room. The dining room table was full. It was a small apartment. You couldn't sit anywhere. It was just a mess. And I was like getting very uptight and tense being around all of that. It just like made me crazy. I don't know. I was like so unrelaxed in that environment. I couldn't think it. It's really true. Like clutter can do to your mind.
You are 100% right. Excuse me. And I have like a biconditional arrow: clear your clutter, clear your mind, and then go back and forth.
I know, it's so true. People don't realize it. Sometimes you don't know what's stressing you out and you could be living in chaos. So, yeah. So, you're a professional organizer. How do you help people?
I find, excuse me, I'm so congested today. I find that the most effective technique is just being there.
Hmm.
In organizing, we have body doubling, which is a real technique, and it does require a bit of skill and practice, but just having another person with the client has made all the difference. Sometimes they don't want us to do anything. They just want us to stand there and watch and figuratively hold their hands. And that empowers them to feel comfortable and grounded and supported so that they can do what they know they need to do. Other times they need the extra pair of hands and eyes and brain and legs and brawn
And encouragement.
and encouragement.
Yeah, no, it's true. I know that because in my business too, in the bookkeeping and bill paying, we do some other stuff too, financial, the lifestyle concierge piece. Sometimes it's just to want someone to talk to and to be there and hold their hand and, just give them moral support. So I get that with the organizing part too. It's just nice to have another person. I know for one thing I like to do is I'm always organizing my closet and everything. And it's always fun when my daughter comes to help me because, she's like, that's awful. Get rid of that, Mom. And then sometimes I stick it back in the closet after she leaves. But it's always good to have another pair of eyes on something that, I don't know. I've had this for a while. I'm attached to it, but do I really want it? No. So those are kind of some fun things.
Exactly. And you just
Party or game out of it.
Yes, exactly. You just hit the nail on the head. If it's fun, we'll do it. If it's boring and mundane and lonely and discouraging, then there's nothing that is going to get us to do something.
My sister used to fly me down to Florida to help her organize her closet. I know she put stuff back after I left, but that's okay. We all do that.
Yes, and you did it together, so you at least had
Yeah,
that.
it was fun, actually. Yeah, it was great. And
Yeah.
actually, maybe I got a few things for myself out of there too. So that doesn't hurt. Well, we're going to take a little break now, Gayle, and then we'll come back and we're going to talk some more.
Great.
Thank you. Hey there. I just want to tell you a little bit about my new book that just came out called Mastering Your Financial Life Cycles. And here it is. It's how to successfully manage your money in every decade of life. I co-authored this with my CFO, Liz Levy. And together we created this manual that's going to help you through every stage of life. We talk about having a baby. We talk about young adulthood, pre-retirement, what to do when you're at that age of retirement. If you're contemplating divorce, do you need an estate plan? We cover all of these, each subject in a different chapter. And I really think that you're going to find this so helpful because at the end of every chapter, we have checklists that you can look at and you can use, and they can be a guide for you. So this is a wonderful manual that we've created. It's available on Amazon. You can also find it on our website at judithheft.com/book. And we're here for you. If you need anything, reach out. I hope you enjoy the book. Here's another picture of it, just so you know what's going on. Here it is. And I'm really proud of it. It's my second book. And I'd love to have you read it and give me your feedback. Judy Heft, judithheft.com, financial and lifestyle concierge, celebrating 26 years in business. And over the years, I've learned so much. And what I've been trying to do is impart a little bit of this knowledge to you so I can help all of you become as financially organized as I am. And we're back here. We're back here with Gayle Gruenberg. She's the founder of Let's Get Organized. And we're talking about chronic disorder and hoarding and all different kinds of crazy things. So but you have a new book coming out, which I'm really excited to hear about. Is this your second book?
This is actually the first one, although I'm writing the second book first. That's a whole other conversation. Yes, it's called Get the Big O, Organized. To achieving a life of calm, clarity, and control.
That sounds great. And so what are some of the tips in there that we should know about? Can we have a little sneak preview of a few things?
Well, it is 7 steps. They all begin with C. So I call them my 7 C's. And it's basically the process that we go through in the field when we're working with clients, or we do it virtually when we're working with our virtual clients. It's somewhat linear, but it doesn't have to be. But it's definitely a step-by-step way to think about and do first the internal work required for organizing and then digging in. So one of the things that I like to stress, either on site, virtually, or in the book, is You know what your strengths are and play to those strengths. Know what your innate talents are. Know what your core values are, so that when you create your organizing systems, they can be very natural for you and very organic, so that they're basically effortless to create and maintain. Because if you're trying to put yourself, if say you're a square peg and you're trying to put yourself in a round hole, nothing is going to fit.
Right. Yeah, it's so important to get it all organized properly. So, how do you do it virtually?
Basically on Zoom, sometimes on the phone, but visual is usually better. Having multiple screens helps, like a phone, an iPad, excuse me, and a laptop, so that we can see things from multiple angles. And it's basically consulting as if I were in the room with someone, only they are doing the actual work while I guide them, and we talk and go through the entire 7 C's process, basically.
Well, that's great. And then you can work with people all over the country and
Exactly.
world,
All
even.
over the world, yeah.
The sky's the limit. That's exciting. That's really great. So how can people find you? Or how do they, what if they want to, they're listening and they want to find an organizer to work with. They don't live in where you are in New Jersey and they want to do it in person. How do they find someone?
Okay, the best way is, all right, you can find me at lgorganized.com. If you prefer to have someone on site with you and you live somewhere else in the world, I would suggest that you go to NAPO, which is napo.net, and it's the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. It used to be the National Association of Professional Organizers, but we've expanded, but we're still NAPO. For someone living with chronic disorganization, I highly recommend the Institute for Challenging Disorganization, the ICD, which is at challengingdisorganization.org.
Oh, so those are great resources. So Gayle, and how can they find you? You mentioned your email, but let's have some other contact information for you.
Sure. My website is lgorganized.com. Email is hello@lgorganized.com. Our phone is 201-613-2733. And I'd have to get you my Instagram, but I'm quite sure that it's Let's Get Organized LLC.
And I'm sure they can find you on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. Well, it was so much fun talking to you. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to mention?
Can't think of anything. There's a lot in the pipeline, but it all surrounds the book, but it's not yet launched.
So when is the book going to be published? When do you think?
We're looking at late summer, early fall.
This year?
Yes.
Oh, so it's right around the corner.
It is.
It's exciting. Congratulations on that. That's wonderful. Well, thank you, Gayle. Thanks for being a great guest. Really appreciate it. It's fun having you here.
It's good to see you.
Thank you for tuning into Mastering Your Financial Life, hosted by Judy Heft. You can read chapters of her books and catch prior episodes of the show at www.judithheft.com. Thank you for your positive comments and sharing this show with others.